Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. You are sitting in on the Food Rescue US webinar, How to Engage Community to Prevent Food Waste. This is a 50-minute webinar, and we will leave time at the end of the session for questions and answers. This webinar is in partnership with Food Waste Prevention Week, and we are a proud partner of Food Waste Prevention Week. Food Waste Prevention Week is a yearly campaign designed to educate and inspire real change in reducing wasted food, supporting a healthier planet, saving families money, and addressing food insecurity. My name is Haley Schulman, and I am the National Site Coordinator for Food Rescue US. In this role, I mentor and empower leaders across the country in the development of grassroots food rescue programs. This role is informed by my other position at the organization as Food Rescue US Fairfield County's co-site director, where I co-manage the operation of our largest and longest standing site. I am honored to join you today with Rich Armenia of Feeding Charlotte and June Ingraham of Food Rescue US Western Suffolk County. Food Rescue US is a national nonprofit dedicated to reducing wasted food and increasing food access. Through our proprietary web-based app, we engage volunteers and food donors to directly transfer nutritious excess food to social service agencies serving people experiencing food insecurity. In doing this, we change lives and critically address climate change by keeping food out of landfills and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The two societal issues addressed by Food Rescue US are wasted food and food insecurity. We'll first talk about wasted food on the left-hand side of the screen. Almost 40% of all food in the US is wasted. This is a waste of the precious resources that went into growing that food, including water, land, seeds, etc., as well as the inputs needed to harvest, transport, and package that food. Also, when food decomposes in a landfill, it creates a methane gas, a greenhouse gas 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. When food waste makes up to 24% of landfill contents, the greenhouse gas emissions and its impact on climate change are extreme. Most devastatingly, environmental justice communities, often communities of color, are disproportionately impacted by climate change and hunger. Food insecurity is when an individual lacks reliable access to nutritionally dense and culturally appropriate foods. 44 million people in the US, or about 13% of the US population, reported experiencing food insecurity in 2022. Food insecurity is linked to negative health outcomes. 6 in 10 people are facing a chronic illness such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and cancer. Low-income residents of food deserts are even more likely to suffer from diet-related diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Because of this, it should come as no surprise to you that 90% of our healthcare costs are spent treating these illnesses. Food insecurity and chronic illness impacts Black and Latinx communities at disproportionate rates, as well as single women households and college students. Food Rescue US is a socially just way to address these societal crises. Now that we know the issues, let's dive into Food Rescue US as a contribution to a solution. Food Rescue US has a history of success due to our web-based app and direct transfer model, which allows our strong network of volunteers to be engaged in the entire rescue process. In the organization's lifetime, we have collectively rescued over 200 million pounds of food. Currently, our national network completes over 11,000 rescues each month. What we're looking at now is a map of the Food Rescue US operation. Food Rescue US, founded in 2011, is now operating in 44 different sites across 23 states and DC. You can basically consider a site like an operational footprint of the organization, and states in orange on this map have existing Food Rescue US programs. Food Rescue US leverages technology through our web-based app to harness volunteers nationwide to rescue food. Here are some images of the phone version of our app. It acts as a scheduling tool, volunteer management tool, reporting tool, marketing tool, and more. The tech is really the key to scaling a food rescue program. Here you can see some images of what it looks like. It has a lot of capabilities, and we would be eager to show anyone who's interested more about it. So there are two ways for Food Rescue US to exist in your community, either as a licensee or a flag site. Licensees are existing nonprofits which license the Food Rescue US software to manage their food rescue program. Licensees can harness the power of our app to start, manage, and scale food recovery efforts and deliver more food to those in need. Flag sites are Food Rescue US programs operating under the Food Rescue US 501c3 and utilizing our best practices, branding, and support to start a grassroots food rescue program. Volunteer leaders can apply for our 90-day onboarding program to start a Food Rescue US flag site in their communities. It is my pleasure to be joined by Rich Armenia of one of our licensee programs, Feeding Charlotte. Rich is a compassionate advocate dedicated to fighting world hunger and serving others. With extensive experience in leading and serving on projects in over 10 different countries, he has gained invaluable knowledge and expertise in addressing this global issue. Growing up in upstate New York, Rich's strong sense of community and passion for making a difference led him to spend 5 years combating hunger with Rise Against Hunger. He has also contributed to waste reduction and sustainability efforts as a member of the advisory board for the Wipe Out Waste program and worked directly with the homeless populations through Lighthouse Ministries in Western New York. Rich, I love working with you, and I'm so excited to have you on this webinar presentation. Thanks for joining us today. Please tell us a bit about Feeding Charlotte.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, so Feeding Charlotte has been in operation for about 6 years, so we're kind of a newer program. We were founded by 3 women here in the Charlotte area that kind of noticed a lot of food going to waste, which I'm sure a lot of you can identify with, right? If you've ever worked in food service at all, I'm sure we've all been shocked by the garbage cans that get rolled out to the dumpster that are filled with food, right? So these 3 women noticed that there was a lot of food going to waste in Charlotte and wanted to find a solution to it. And then on the other side of that issue, they also seen that there were plenty of people in the community that were hungry inside of Mecklenburg County, which is where Charlotte's located. It's about 100,000. So it's a big number, and it's the strangest problem that exists. So they started Feeding Charlotte actually as a subsidiary of another program. And it started as honestly just them picking food up in their car and delivering it to programs throughout the community that needed, food to do what they needed to do. And then it kind of grew from there. Now, I came on to the organization about 2 years ago, and since then, we've really scaled and grown. So, Feeding Charlotte historically has done about 50,000 pounds of food every year. Well, last year we did quite a bit more than that. So, we ended up around 370. We grew by 570% last year, which is an incredible number. We have a tiny little staff of 2.5 team members, myself included. So, but we have a really strong group of volunteers that help make all of that happen and get that food picked up and delivered to the programs in the community that are doing the real work. Now, a big part of that growth for us came through kind of the ease of use that the Food Rescue US software offers us. We had been using other methods in the past. Part of that was maybe just keeping a spreadsheet when we first started. Then we licensed another software that was really clunky and didn't work very well. And I would say it's about a year ago now, actually, that we met the Food Rescue US team, had some conversations, looked into their software, and decided to move forward with that. So it's been an interesting partnership. And Haley, if you'll go to the next slide for me. So we're on track to double our program this year again. So if you consider we grew by 570% last year, and we're going to double in size this year, to me, what that screams to me is that there's a lot of food going to waste in the community and a lot of people that need it. There's more need than ever to do what we do. So the working with Food Rescue US through licensing the software has made that a lot easier for us, but it's not just about ease of use. For us, it's more intuitive, and also the volunteers get to engage with it more, right? So that slide that Haley showed, that showed the screenshots from the phone app, our volunteers can collect tokens based on the food runs that they do. If they do night food runs, they get a token for that. And our volunteers seem to have a lot more fun with that. So we've kind of seen this influx of new food rescue driver volunteers, and it's kind of based on that. It's word of mouth, people talking about, how much fun it is to do these food rescues, and how much of an impact it makes in the community. It's been a really great partnership, and I'm really grateful to Haley and the entire Food Rescue US team for all of the support they give us. They're great at taking feedback and implementing it, and it's been a great partnership so far.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Rich, for telling us a little bit more about your organization. I have a few questions for you, some of which you've touched on, but if you'd like to expand any more, we'd love to hear your answers. So tell us a little bit more about how you first connected with Food Rescue US, or maybe Feeding Charlotte connected with Food Rescue US, and what impact it has had on your organization.
Absolutely. Well, interestingly enough, I learned about Food Rescue US from one of our financial donors. We had a peer-to-peer giving campaign, and a gentleman who was one of our top fundraisers in the peer-to-peer giving campaign. I had coffee with him, and I asked what other organizations that he donates and is involved with, and he said Food Rescue US. And I remember writing it down, and I was like, I'm gonna have to look into this. If there's another food rescue program out there he's donating money to, I need to know who they are. So looked into it and scheduled a call with the team there, and immediately was impressed at kind of the level that you guys operate at compared to Little Feeding Charlotte, where we're 2.5 staff members. Your level of fit and finish, and then kind of walking through the software with your tech team, was immediately impressed. As I mentioned, you know it's been a really great partnership so far. Your team is so quick to take our thoughts, ideas, advice, and look into them. And then when they decide to move on a change or an update to the software, they're quick to implement. They're really quick to respond when we have issues or things we don't know about what to do in the software. So for us, the partnership's been amazing. And even further outside of that, we're collaborating on other things now. It's great to have somebody out there who's doing the same work we are, that we can even just bounce ideas off of or work together on.
I love that. We haven't really talked too much about the impact of our network. And so that's one of my favorite things, is connecting leaders across the country who are all doing food rescue, but maybe in different spaces, and sometimes in like a very solitary way, with each other to share these best practices and connections even. So I love that you love that too.
That's the best part of the licensee agreement so far.
Yeah,
The
love it.
software is great, but being able to work with the Food Rescue US team has been, far more impressive than just the software.
Nice. I'll tell the team. Um, so you come with an interesting experience because you all have used a different technology in the past, and my only experience is with the Food Rescue US technology. So I'd love to hear a little bit more from you about how the Food Rescue US tech does compare to what you all have used in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to mention names, but I will tell you that as soon as I came on at Feeding Charlotte, I hated the software that we were using. It was basically just a glorified spreadsheet, and it had a terrible level of fit and finish. It didn't offer us the ability to pull detailed reports on the back end, or even have detailed information. There was no ability to store photos for the volunteers. So it was really frustrating to me that we were paying to license a software that was really poorly written. And the worst part of that software to me was that when I had issues and had to talk to the team there, they didn't seem like they wanted to talk to me. They didn't seem to care about the issues we were having. So for me, very quickly coming on, I realized that this is kind of a hindrance to us growing the organization and to us maximizing the amount of impact we can make. So for me, it was an easy choice. Once I found great software, it was an easy choice to make.
We appreciate the compliments. Thanks. Now to go back to Feeding Charlotte, your all's program. Tell us a little bit about how you all operate a community-centered approach.
Yeah, so for us, it's all through collaboration, whether that's collaborating with the food recipient partners. When I talk to people who are unfamiliar with this whole model, and I'm sure that there's quite a few people on the phone or on the call here that are familiar with this model, but people who are unfamiliar have never heard the term food rescue, and they don't understand that, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, right? So we deliver to feeding programs that already have established relationships. They're working in the communities and with the people that they serve. They already have established relationships with them. They just need the supplies to continue to do what they're doing. So I try and, paint a picture as that. It's all through collaboration. Even with our food donors, we try and dig deeper on collaboration, find new ways to collaborate. We've been working with a stadium here in Charlotte, and we had a meeting last week to talk about co-branding and marketing opportunities with the sports team that plays in that stadium, and to see if there are other ways we can work together to raise awareness and end hunger and food waste in Charlotte. It's such a stupid problem. So really, I would say collaboration is kind of the magic ingredient in all of this. And from a funding standpoint, a lot of funders, they want to see organizations working together. They want to see, um, this type of partnership happening. So for us, yeah, that's the secret sauce. It's collaboration. And back to Food Rescue US, that's kind of how we feel about working with you guys. It's been that's sort of partnership.
That's great to hear. I hope that the wonderful partnership and collaboration might lead to some tickets to those sports games.
That would be nice.
Yeah, looking forward to coming down to Charlotte for those. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rich. We're going to move on, but we will take questions at the end. So if anyone has any questions for Rich specifically, he's sticking around to answer those. So thank you. So in 2024, we launched a 90-day onboarding pilot program for all new Food Rescue US flag sites to complete. This structured curriculum breaks down the role of the site director into digestible pieces and ensures that all site directors, part of the Food Rescue US flag network, have all of the know-how, skills, and resources they need to develop a successful food rescue program, following our organization's policies and procedures. Every 2 weeks, Food Rescue US meets with the site leadership and focuses on a module or building block of a standard Food Rescue US program. By the end of the 90 days, the site is teed up to have assembled a leadership team of 2 to 3 people, have a network of community advocates, food donors, social service agencies, and volunteer rescuers, and have 3 to 5-ish recurring rescues scheduled and covered by volunteer rescuers. This pilot program was developed by our organization to make sure that all individuals who came into our network felt supported in their actions as a Food Rescue US site director. Now, I am honored to be joined by the most recent graduate of this 90-day program, June Ingraham. June recently retired after a 40-year career that spanned diverse fields, including sports marketing and nonprofit work. She had roles at Sports Illustrated, the National Football League, and MSG Networks. The last decade of her career was spent in development at the American Cancer Society. Upon her retirement last year, June was thrilled to find Food Rescue US and has helped establish and grow a site in Western Suffolk County, New York. And I also have so enjoyed working with June. I am thrilled to have her presenting. So June, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Haley. I'm a proud graduate.
Yeah, we need to get you like a little cap.
Cap and gown.
Yeah. So, June, tell us a little bit about your origin story. How did you first learn about Food Rescue US?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, Haley, I was recently retired, and I'm just not one of those right off into the sunset retirees. I wanted to dig into something meaningful. I always cared about food insecurity. So once I had some freedom, I started digging into different organizations to volunteer for, and I kept coming across Food Rescue. But every time I looked to see, well, are there rescues in my area? There were plenty of rescues to my east and to my west, but there was this sort of vast area right where I live that was kind of a blank screen. And so I reached out to Food Rescue. I got in touch with Haley, luckily for me. And Haley said, if you want to, we really don't have anything in your area. We're always looking for site coordinators or site directors. And so I asked what that involved and learned more about it. I was very interested. And Haley said, we'd love to have you do this, but you can't do it alone. And I initially thought, well, why not? And what I've learned through dealing with Haley and the 90-day program is they really know how to build these sites. And by plugging into the blueprint that you all create, we can create our own success. So I was told, go find a co-site director, and then come back to us if you find someone who wants to do this with you. And I was lucky, really lucky to come across a wonderful woman who had also recently retired. She was a physician and was looking for more, and we didn't know each other. We were put together by a mutual friend and decided to do it together. And it has been just wonderful. We started the 90-day program over the summer in August. And it was really good to be doing it together, to start from scratch together. So that was kind of that's the origin story, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you. And it's so funny to me that you and Anne were not friends before, because I feel like you are leading the program so well together. And fun fact, unknowingly to you all, you share the same birthday, which is crazy.
Share the same birthday and live 5 minutes away from each other.
Amazing.
So,
Well, talk about building community right from the get. So love that. We talked a little bit about the 90-day, your experience with the 90-day pilot program, but I'm really eager to hear a bit more about your thoughts and feelings on that program and your experience.
I would say most importantly, I think the program taught me how much I didn't know. I think a lot of us come into this, many, I think, as I've seen, are recent retirees that have had a successful career. You have confidence in yourself, you feel capable, but then you realize how critical it is to follow the game plan. I'm a sports-minded person. I need a game plan. And this was the perfect game plan, really. And I think originally I looked at it and I thought 90 days, man, how are we we want to get going. We felt like we were kind of Kentucky Derby racehorses in the chute, ready to be unleashed. But we realized pretty quickly that we weren't ready to get out on the track. So I think what the program, for me at least, it laid out a really logical order of tasks to be completed. And every 2 weeks we were given assignments, and then we'd come back and, kind of prove to Haley we'd mastered that, learning area, that task. So I think it was really good to work through the logic of the program. And I think the things that it really, in the end, it taught me two main things. One, to utilize the context I had. And, the program was, okay, start where you are, start with what you're familiar with and build from there. And I think that was really key. And that was really helped us build a foundation that we were then able to grow with. And I think the second thing was, again, just back to the logic. Ann and I were like, okay, we know all these grocery stores, we know the owners, we know these bakeries and bagel shops, and we should just go in and talk to them. But we were told very clearly, don't do that. Find pantries before you find donors. And that was, again, really helpful. So I think just the very logical step-by-step that we were told to take, having this blueprint and always having support if we didn't, we didn't quite know how to get to the next step. So it was really very, very helpful to us.
So glad to hear it. And now that you've gone through this 90 days in this timeline, I'm interested to hear from you on what were the key things you all did to build the community that is Food Rescue US Western Suffolk County.
Okay. So again, I think it started with our own community. Learn about your own community. We were told to learn how food moves within your community. So I think that was, those were the key to, the key to the building blocks was just having that knowledge. Utilizing our context. You don't realize how many people are in your circle that can help you in one way or another. Publicity ended up being a really, really key element to us. Publicity adds legitimacy to your cause. Nobody here knew anything about food rescue. So we were able to get a lot of early publicity that helped legitimize us and get our name out there. We also did a launch party. I think that was a really key thing to building, building our foundation. We invited a lot of people. We probably had 60 or so people that came to our launch party. Again, it gave us legitimacy to the cause and let people learn about it. Those two things, the launch party and the publicity, led to volunteers. And as Rich said earlier in his discussion, strong volunteers are the key to all of this. So we have, I'm probably skipping ahead, but we have over 100 volunteers that have our app on their phone. And so I think that was, again, the key to building was getting a lot of people involved from the beginning. And then I think the other key was for Ann and I was understanding what we didn't know. And we were good at a lot of things. We were able to present the program well after going through the 90 days and learning so clearly what food rescue is. We had a great elevator pitch that we could give to anybody. So we felt confident in talking to the donors and talking to the receiving agencies, but we were a little bit kind of held up by the app and the whole tech side of things. Again, Rich talks about ease of use. There is a great ease of use with this app, but we were 60 somethings and we felt like if we could just bring in a younger person who wanted to deal with the tech side of this, that would be really helpful. So we were able to tap a young volunteer who'd been doing rescues for us. We called her and said, would you like to become more involved with us? And she was very open to that. And so we've brought in Liz Maloney, who's been our site coordinator, and she handles all the tech side of things. She handles the app. She has gone to all the pantries. She learns about who needs what. She's done a lot of rescues herself. So she's very hands-on. And now every week she's able to post all our rescues and able to work through the logistics of what's going where. So that's been a huge key to building a successful site for us, is just having the right people in the right place.
I love that and would completely agree with your experience. The support of others is so important. And I think what's so funny, I had a sales job and someone, my mentor told me this, like, people want to help. They just sometimes need to be asked. So I love that you guys ask.
We ask a lot.
Yeah, same.
We ask a lot of people, but we haven't gotten a lot of no's. So that's been encouraging.
So tell us now a little bit about Food Rescue US Western Suffolk County and how your site has grown since starting that 90-day program.
Right. So we've been able to, we were able to bring in a lot of agencies right away. There's a ton of need everywhere. in our community. And we really branched out from our own community where we started, and we're going into probably maybe a 30 or 40 mile radius now. So we were able to bring on wonderful agency partners. We have 12. We probably have a couple more now, smaller ones that we've added since then. The food donors is the hardest part, and that's a process that's going to just continue every day. But we've been able to bring on 17 food donors that are regular donors that we pick up from every week. I think I mentioned earlier, we had over 100 volunteers sign up. We have 108 volunteers that have the app on their phone. But we realized really we only have 35 or so active volunteers. And even within that group, probably only half of them do really a lot of rescues regularly. So that's been another kind of challenge that we've been dealing with, is how to engage with the volunteers. And if we're looking at continued growth, we need to keep those volunteers really engaged and active. We need to obviously continue to grow them. But we're proud to say we've rescued almost 24,000 pounds of food. We've brought on some really wonderful, meaningful food donors of late. We had a brand new Wegmans open out here, and we have a once a week pickup there. We've gotten a couple of independent grocery stores where we pick up 4 times a week from there. So we haven't been able to crack some of the bigger nuts, the Trader Joe's and the Whole Foods, though. We continue to pound down those doors, and I think we'll get them. And we're really looking at some good growth with the warmer weather coming, because we have a lot of farms in this area, farm stands, food, farmers markets. So we're hoping to get more meaningful food in the summer months. So it's been this is at a glance right now. In 6 months, we hope it's going to be double or triple this.
I know it will be. Okay, and last question for you, June. What's been the best part of your Food Rescue US experience?
Well, that's a hard question, because there's a lot of best parts, but obviously I think building a successful team, and I don't just mean our Western Suffolk team of 3+ volunteers. It's really been building the team with Food Rescue, with you, Haley, with Jenna, with Sheldon. Jenna's there helping me brush up on my Canvas skills and make flyers into beautiful targeted pieces with Western Suffolk on them. Sheldon in tech has always been our wonderful tech go-to guy. And I think, it's really wonderful to have the support that we have. I don't think, this requires a lot of time and effort, especially in the beginning. There's a steep learning curve, and you're rewarded by putting in that time and effort when you start to see the success. But the success isn't going to come without all that support from Food Rescue, the behind the scenes. And it's a really good, solid organization to join. Rich said, he talked about it being an impressive team, and he was impressed with the level of people that he was dealing with. And I would say the same. It's first rate. You get what you need, you get it quickly. You're never out there on your own. And yet I feel like there's a lot of trust to let the site directors have autonomy and build their site the way they want it to build. I've had conversations with Haley about, we'd like to do this, and she'll say, well, it's really not in the model, but if that's what you think is going to build your site, then go for it. So I think that's been the best part, is just having encouragement, support, and always having the ability to phone a friend. It just we've felt that from the start. So I think that's been a huge component in the success that we've built.
I appreciate it. And we're so proud of you. So great job, June. Happy to have you on the team.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we take questions, I do just want to encourage everyone on this call to consider if any of these options we talked about today is a good fit for you. We are eager to help support you as you bring Food Rescue US to your community. So your options that we discussed today may be interested in that 90-day structured curriculum, and we would be happy to chat with you about it. Or you might be an organization like Feeding Charlotte, who's already doing food rescue, but looking for the tech or networking support to scale and grow your program or to start a program. Now, if those options might not be a good fit for you, there are great opportunities to volunteer with the organization aside from being a site leader. So I had mentioned earlier that we are currently in 44 locations, and there are rescue opportunities in all of those locations. So please scan the QR code to learn more about bringing Food Rescue US to your community as a volunteer or to register as a rescuer. And now, all of that said, food rescue, lowercase, the action of food rescue is simple. It is the connection of one food donor with one rescuer with one social service agency. And so if these structured opportunities are not a good fit for you, you can still do food rescue, maybe just not with Food Rescue US. Start with yourself, start with people you know. And when you get to a point where you can no longer manage all of the food rescues you are doing from your head or an Excel spreadsheet, call us. Thank you. Welcome as a fan and friend of Food Rescue US to the organization. And we are happy to take questions if you can input them in the chat. I don't know if there already are questions.
What is
okay?
do you want to go ahead? Can you see it, Haley?
I can.
Okay,
Thanks,
great.
Jenna. So I can see a question from Sierra. What is your advice for engaging youth in this kind of work? Younger populations like college students or recent graduates would likely love to get involved. Rich or June, do you have any experience working with students to share?
We don't have anybody offhand, Haley. We don't have a big student population, so I'm not sure I'm the best to answer that.
I'm going to answer that for you before Rich goes. Didn't you have a student or young person at least helping with social media?
We did. I was thinking about actual food rescues. We did put an ad up on Volunteer Match looking for a social media coordinator, and we did get a young college student who's been doing social media for us. So in that way, yes, in kind of a niche kind of position. That was very helpful, but we have maybe over the summer we'll be able to engage more volunteers, but we actually have more volunteers than we need right now. So we haven't had the need to reach out to college kids.
Rich.
Yeah, so we found a few different ways and avenues to engage college students. The first one is taking summer interns from local colleges. Charlotte is filled with colleges. So it's been that's been an amazing experience. And a lot of times when you can pull them in, you can oftentimes get them to talk about it on their campuses and get volunteers for us there. Another way that we've found to bring in students from all ages, really from school, from elementary school all the way up through college, is doing kind of community-centered events. So we have a few events a year where we'll take rescued food and we'll build boxed lunches with them, and we'll bring, anywhere from 250 to 1,000 volunteers into one room, and we'll start out with kind of an education piece about hunger, food waste, and then we'll engage everybody in an event like that. So those have been really effective ways for us to engage kind of younger generations in it. I love June's idea about finding a college student to do social media. Anything to take it off of my plate would be fantastic, actually. But
Same.
yeah, so that's how we've engaged college students, and it's been pretty effective.
Nice. I'll share my experience in Fairfield County. We've worked with students in quite a range of ways. So I saw Randy posted in the meeting chat that Parents are so welcome to bring kids out on rescues. So there is no age requirement to join on a rescue. Obviously, you need to be of driving age and have a license to actually drive the car. But one of my favorite pictures that a volunteer has provided us is a picture of her kid in like toddler kid in a like car seat with bread overflowing all around the kid in their car. So that's like an amazing experience to bring such young people on. And a lot of parents have shared that they love doing it with their kids because it's an opportunity to show the value in giving back to the community, the value of volunteering. We have high school students who rescue from their high school. So that's been another advantage of working with high school and college students. They can, if you're leading a site, they can bring the schools on as food donors on your behalf. We find that schools are much more interested in supporting their students than they are potentially supporting me as a stranger to their community. But if this is a student program that they are leading, it's a really great way into a long-term relationship with schools. So there are opportunities. And the Food Rescue US technology does record a history of all volunteer rescues. And so there's a very easy opportunity for us to pull the rescue hours that students are committing to the organization, volunteer hours that they can use for college applications, club requirements, things like that. Okay, next question's from Jillian. I inquired at an organization who is in need of receiving food, but they told me that all of the grocery stores and retailers in our city have an agreement with local organizations who pick up food. The problem with this organization is that they don't have the infrastructure to process all of the food and distribute the food before spoiling. I see room for more here, but what is your advice on how to break in to introduce an alternative pickup service and prevent some food from spoiling? Richard, June, do you have a suggestion for Jillian?
I do. So we're since we're a small independent organization, I feel like we're constantly up against kind of the big guys in town. For us, we found the organizations that they don't work with as a kind of a way in, right? And once we've got those food donors on board, it's kind of lended credibility for us to chase some of the bigger food donors that they're already working with, but not collecting all the food from, for instance, like the stadiums, right? So we were able to establish a pretty good sized base of food donors that they didn't have any interest in partnering with, maybe because they were smaller. And then when we went to the larger partners about taking that extra food that they didn't pick up, we were able to say, well, we're currently already working with these, 35 food donors here in Charlotte, and it just lends credibility.
I would completely agree there. It's much easier to get a food donor on board when you can look to and speak to the experiences that you already have rescuing food. Often those big guys are not rescuing prepared foods or directly from farms or farmers markets, or from like smaller locally owned and managed businesses. So I would recommend, and we typically do recommend, starting there and then moving on to these bigger food donors that might need the additional support. Our organization in Fairfield County, Connecticut has grown in such a way and supported agencies in such an impactful way that now those agencies are requesting Food Rescue US as their pickup partner, even if the relationship really started with one of these bigger guys. So my recommendation is very similar to Rich's, like keep doing what you're doing and proving yourself, and continuing to follow up, because there are examples nationwide where businesses and programs are understanding that one agency, one group can't do it all. And so Rich said earlier, like we're in the business of collaborating. And so sometimes you got to force collaboration, but it works out. So
Can I add one thing to that, Haley?
please.
I would also say do it better. This has worked really well for us, right? So sometimes the bigger organizations lose a little bit of the personal touch and drop the ball frequently, not pointing fingers or anything like that. But if they're going to drop the ball frequently, we've actually gained a lot of big food donors just based on that, just based on their frustrations working with some of the larger agencies. And for us being able to say, well, you always get a personal touch with Feeding Charlotte. Our volunteers are always on time. We're always here to pick up when you want us to pick up. We always have a smile on our face and we're always grateful. And for us, doing it better has allowed us to take over a lot of those agreements. So yeah, I'd say just do it really well and word gets out.
Any other questions from the audience? That's great because we're coming right up on time anyway. So thank you all for joining us. Rich and June, thank you so much for speaking on this panel. Jenna, thank you for coordinating this presentation. And thanks to Food Waste Prevention Week for hosting such an impactful week of events. Have a great day, everyone.